Welcome back. Things are really starting to take shape now. As a matter of fact, we have a completely playable game. Very simple, but it is playable. We can win it and we can lose it. Now it's time to get word wrap in place. This is definitely an advanced topic for beginners, way more so than everything else we've talked about up to this point. We're not going to diagram anything out. Logan's just going to talk about what each line does, and we would like for you guys to simply follow along. For those of you that pick up on what we're doing, hey, excellent. For those of you that are familiar with better ways of working with strings, do not have a heart attack. We are trying to keep this as simple as possible, even though it is not as efficient as possible. It is in its easiest form to see, if you will, without introducing another object. So, with that out of the way, let's start out, Logan, by showing a piece of the game that Zach had created. We're just going to grab the title screen that he had. So here's just the text, and as a matter of fact, you just slowly start scrolling over. Da, 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 da. So that's definitely going to need to word wrap. Let's paste that into our current title screen message right now and see what it looks like without word wrap actually doing anything other than acting as a pass-through method, which is how we have it set up at the moment.
Okay. Let's go and bring up our game manager where we have our title screen under the show title screen method. And let's replace our short temporary title screen with the one that Zach had.
Okay.
So we'll paste, we'll just paste all this in. Like so.
Okay.
And let's see, does it build? It builds. All right, let's see what that looks like.
All right. The Hyperion Project, XNA 101 game by 3D Buzz. Let me grab the mouse real quick. Oh, take a look at this. So we're coming through. Look at this. Witness left, stand, ing. Oh, that's kind of bad. Stick, king, and find yourself star. Ring. Okay, so that's definitely kind of difficult to read. And had a lot of complaints coming in from both Terry and Angela when they played through this because of it, well, being difficult to read, and so they really wanted some word wrap in place. Well, that means we needed to spend a few minutes. Hey, we need to put some more asterisks up here. That's why I was pausing, because I was thinking, all right.
Oh,
no, we don't.
yes.
No, they're right here. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Okay, back on track. Sorry about that, guys.
I was about to go and add some for you, too.
Yeah, it was an illusion. But yeah, without word wrap in there, it can be difficult to read. Word wrap definitely goes outside of the scope of trying to give you a basic experience. This gets a little bit more involved. It'll definitely look more cryptic. But if we get this in place, this will look a lot nicer. And then you can just type all the stuff you need to type, and it's going to look, well, lovely. So with that, Logan, let's go ahead and see if we can make the word wrap utilities or text utilities method work and handle this text.
Okay. Well, we're done with this. We can close it, and let's go over to text utils. All right, moving down here is where we're doing a simple pass-through on word wrap. We're going to delete our temporary return and begin writing it. Now, this is going to be interesting because we're going to have a giant block of text we take in, and then we need to break it apart. But we need to break it apart first, line by line, and then we'll turn around and break those lines down word by word, and then we can decide on how many words can go on each line.
Okay.
So let's start this off. I'm going to start a string to hold the overall result and initialize that to blank. Just in case there was nothing passed to us, then we can have a blank string to hold and continue on.
Okay.
I'm also going to, now we need to break up the incoming text into individual lines. So I'm going to make a string array called lines, and I'm going to set that to whatever is in text. I'm going to tell it to tokenize, so I'm going to have it split based on a certain character. I'm going to use the new line character as my split character. So what this is going to do is take the text, break it up line by line, and put each line into an element in the line's string array. Alright, now we need to loop through all of our lines. So I'm going to do for each string line in lines, we want to loop through. So this will allow us to loop through line by line. And just to block some of the other stuff in, after each line, we of course, after we do our thing, we do our word wrap, we need to reassemble this text as lines. So after we process each line, I want to take result and add onto it a new line character.
Okay.
So that way we break it apart, but then for every loop. As a matter of fact, that's on the inside. Looking at that. Oh, I see what that is. That's actually something different. Remember earlier when we had to add the one extra new line?
Okay.
That's where it came from. We're going to have a different version of that inside the loop.
Okay.
All right. Now, inside of our loop, so once we're looking at a line now, we need to have a variable so we can count how long this line is becoming as we run through it word by word. So we'll give ourselves a line length variable, set it to 0, and I'll make yet another string array called words. And words will be equal to this line. We'll have the line split based on the space character.
So above we were able to break up all of our lines as in a full line of text before there was a new line, and now you're actually breaking everything up into individual words.
That's right. Alright, so we've got our words. Now we need to loop through all of them. So we'll do another for each. So for each string word in words. And this will allow us to loop through word by word. Now, inside of here, we need to do a check because we're going to be keeping track of how much line length we've accumulated. So we need to check and see that if adding the next word would push us over the line length limit. So we're starting out with, so if the current word we're looking at, we'll take its length, and with that length plus the line length that we've accumulated so far is greater than or equal to the buffer width minus 1, then we've gone over our width limit, and we have to wrap.
Okay.
So in order to wrap, we're going to accomplish that by simply injecting a new line character into what we're adding as our result. So we take our result, and we'll say plus equals a new line. We also need to reset our line length counter because we've injected a new line, which means we need to start over and start counting this as a new line now.
And just as a quick reminder, well, I'll let you go ahead and type that in first.
Okay.
Okay, just as a quick reminder to everyone, because in case you're not looking up here, this buffer width is something that we are passing into. It's a parameter made available up here in the declaration of the method. We are passing our console width in, if you guys recall, and we're using the console width to determine how far we can have text go across before we wrap around. So that's what's going on right here. Basically, as we have each word, and then we're appending the line length, which is for the very first time through, it's 0. Then once we hit the very end, or we're going to be larger than the end, that's when we're going to wrap right there. Okay?
Right. And just a quick explanation on the way we're deciding when to start wrapping. The reason this is buffer width minus 1 is because this new line character that we're adding in counts against us in line length as far as the way the default console wrapping is concerned. Because that's actually one of the things that we're fighting, is the way the default behavior works, where it chops a word and immediately goes to the next line. If we happen to add this new line character just off screen, it'll throw that on a new line for us, and we'll see a blank gap as a line.
Okay.
So what we're doing with the minus 1 is we're giving ourselves a 1 character buffer. This does have the side effect of meaning that we'll never have a letter going all the way to the edge of the screen. We're always going to have that blank space. And the reason we're going to have that is for the possibility of dropping a line return on it, right, so that it doesn't otherwise mess up formatting. But, alright, we've got our new line that we're adding in. We're resetting line length. Now, so this is what happens if we, in fact, needed to add in a new line. What needs to happen word by word is we need to start accumulating these words in our result. So we need to take our result and have it, and add on to it our word plus a space. Because when we run the split's going to split it up based on space and remove those spaces, technically speaking, because inside of the words we're not going to have the spaces included. They're just used as the split character, and then they're thrown away after they're used for the split. So in order to have the paragraph look correct, we have to add a space back in after all of the words. And let's see. Now, as we're adding words to the result, we also need to keep track of those in the line length. So we need to take our line length and add the word length, the word that we just added, count its length, and also add 1, because word.length is going to be the length of this. We're adding on to it that space, so right, we need to add 1. So we keep track of our line length. Alright, and let's see. So once we get that put together, now for each line, let's see. I see, this is actually in the wrong place. Let me move that back up, because this is where I was looking at before. We've now, after we finish this, we finished all the words in this line. We're dropping back out to a new line, so we need to make sure that we account for that line, and then we'll continue on to another line. All right. Now we've got all of that, and if we drop down one more, this is, of course, back at the level of the method itself. So once we've done this calculation and run through all of the lines, now we can return our result. So return result, and if everything went well, this should work. So let's build and see if we've got any errors. And there are no errors, so if we look back over at Game Manager now, you notice we are running this through word wrap, so let's see what it looks like.
Okay.
There, how's that?
Looks good. It is definitely wrapping. Now we don't have any of the problems that we had earlier. And in worst case scenario, you've got it. Yeah, you always have the spaces over on the right hand side now, but that's not bad. That looks good.
And one further thing I want to check is if we go into the game, now we have 2 new lines, and again, that's because of that extra one that we added before.
Which we can go
so
take
we can
out.
go and we don't need it anymore, so we can go back to text buffer and remove this new line before the what shall I do line. So now we've got it looking exactly like it did before, except for the fact that everything word wraps now.
Perfect. And because of the way that we've set this all up, everybody's using word wrap. Word wrap originally was just a pass-through method, meaning that whatever text we gave it, it gave that exact text back. So we were able to employ the word wrap method everywhere we needed to use it. So now everything's just going to work.
Right. You can see that everything that uses the text buffer to display text is going to be using word wrap.
You got it. So with that, that's pretty much going to wrap up this really fast video.
And I'll just throw out one more thing.
Sure.
I know this word wrap method is certainly not the most efficient nor the most aesthetically pleasing.
Correct.
You can get pretty much as deep as you want with word wrap algorithms as far as speed and readability or both.
Okay.
So yes, I know this is a relatively simple one. It's just one that people might have a chance of following step by step.
Right. And with that, that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.